Tonight, chaos and panic at a university in Prague, the deadliest mass shooting in the history of the Czech Republic. Crowds racing from the scene of the rampage as terrified students huddle on a roof ledge to escape.
Suddenly, there were students and teachers running out of the building.
And what we know about the suspected gunman.
Every second pass, it's a long time for us.
Ottawa's plan to help extended family of Canadians fleeing Gaza, but no guarantee of escape. Also, a Dutch court reduces the sentence for the man convicted in the deadly cyberbullying case of BC teen Amanda Todd.
13 years, 6 years, it won't bring Amanda back.
And airports and passengers brace for the holiday travel rush.
You can't show up at the airport 30 minutes before, it's just not going to happen.
Plus, a weather Grinch has Canadians seeing green.
It doesn't feel or doesn't even look like Christmas.
And why many Canadians will need to keep dreaming of a white Christmas.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. What should be a time of joy just days before Christmas has been shattered by a horrifying mass shooting in Prague. One of Europe's most beautiful cities, now the scene of a bloody rampage. At least 14 people have been killed after the gunman, a 24-year-old student, opened fire at Charles University. Police say he likely killed himself after the massacre. And while that was his deadliest alleged crime today, it wasn't his only one. CTV's Joy Malbin explains, and a warning, some of these images are disturbing.
In the heart of historic Prague, absolute terror. Police say a gunman opened fire at Charles University, a bustling, busy touristy area in the old town. These chilling images allegedly showed the shooter, identified as a 24-year-old philosophy student from a nearby village. Police believe he shot his father first and came to the school armed with a sniper's rifle, shooting students at random before killing himself. Prague's police chief assuring the public there is no indication this act is related to international terrorism. Students were seen clinging to a building ledge during the shooting rampage and leaping to safety.
In the middle of the exam, we started hearing gunshots and screams. Eventually, we were able to lock the door and make a barricade. While we were walking out, all I could see, on the floor is just covered in blood.
Eyewitnesses say you could see people running for their lives.
In the beginning, there was a couple of bangs. I didn't even realize it's a shooting. Then suddenly, there were students and teachers running out of the building.
No direct motive has been given, but police believe the gunman was inspired by a similar terrible event abroad. The tragic loss of life so close to the holidays has deeply shocked Europe.
I wasn't just, ready to admit that something like that could happen in Prague.
Mass shootings are incredibly rare here compared to what happens in America. The White House sending condolences to another city scarred by gun violence.
The President and the First Lady are praying for the families who lost loved ones.
Prague's Prime Minister has tightened security around the capital, and tonight, Global Affairs Canada reports there are no Canadian citizens affected by this horrific shooting. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. The United Nations issued a stark warning today that more than 500,000 people in Gaza, a quarter of its population, are starving. And there is a risk of widespread famine because there isn't enough aid reaching Palestinians. And a Security Council vote to increase efforts has been delayed again. Here's CTV's Aydin Coban.
Night falls in Gaza following another destructive day. The Israeli Defense Force say they located these grenades inside a school in northern Gaza. Hamas releasing video of its own of an alleged attack on Israeli soldiers. The near-daily alarm of air raid sirens sounded through Tel Aviv Thursday as people ran for shelter. Though in Gaza, almost nowhere is safe. As drone strikes hit the southern city of Rafah this week, this man who fled his home in the north asks, where is safe. Once thought to be a haven during a time of war, Gaza is running out of functioning hospitals. Steps from Al Ali Arab Hospital in Gaza, patients have taken the place of parishioners inside this church.
This church has been turned into an inpatient ward with very serious cases, children, women, elderly people.
The World Food Program says 1 in 4 households in Gaza are now facing extreme hunger. There's also risk of famine in the next 6 months if the conflict persists.
People are facing severe food insecurity. Half of the population are facing starvation.
In Toronto today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau repeated his government's call for a humanitarian pause as work continues towards a ceasefire.
That ceasefire cannot be conditional. Hamas has to lay down its arms. It has to release all hostages. There will be no role for Hamas in the future governance of Gaza.
While Israel has said it's ready for another break in the fighting to get more hostages released and increase the flow of aid, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered this blunt message to Hamas today: surrender or die. All week, members of the UN Security Council have been trying to get a vote passed calling for a ceasefire. Tonight, Omar, it was postponed for a 4th consecutive day.
All right, Adrian, thank you. The new year could bring new hope to Canadians desperate to bring extended family members in Gaza here. Ottawa unveiled new immigration measures today, but also said there's no guarantee those who are trapped will be able to escape. Here's CTV's Kevin Gallagher.
Watching a video of her 11-month-old nephew inside Gaza, Isra El-Safan is hopeful she can get him to safety. She has 9 extended family members trapped there who can soon apply for a special visa to Canada.
I'm happy, and at the same time, I still have a little bit of anger because it took a lot of time.
Ottawa estimates 670 Canadians, permanent residents, and eligible family members have managed to escape the besieged enclave through the Rafah crossing. Spouses, common-law partners, and children are currently eligible. This new 3-year temporary resident visa will be extended to grandparents, parents, grandchildren, and siblings of Canadian residents, and their immediate family members, like dependent children.
This expands the definition and allows us a greater set of people that may not be permanent residents or Canadians, but for all intents and purposes represent the family of people that are close to Canadians.
Though getting people out of Gaza is still a huge challenge, and Canada doesn't have the final say on who can cross.
So I hope that they continue ongoing discussion with Egypt to allow and facilitate that process.
Today's announcement allows Palestinians and Israelis already in Canada to apply for study or work permits. Despite this welcome news, El-Safan still has concerns, as she's not sure her nephew and her sister-in-law are eligible.
I'm worried about my nephew because they said that the siblings along with their dependents, but my brother is killed, so I hope that they will deal with the situation.
Ottawa says some applications will be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, but would not comment on El-Safan's family in particular. Those applications open on January 9th. Omar?
All right, Kevin, thank you. A Dutch court has reduced the sentence of a man convicted of cyberbullying BC teen Amanda Todd. The province's highest court had sentenced him to 13 years, longer than the judicial standard in the Netherlands, where he is serving his sentence. Here's CTV's Ben Milger.
Amanda Todd was just 15 years old when she took her own life in 2012 after posting a video about being tormented by an online harasser.
Amanda put her video out there. She wanted things to change.
Last year, a BC jury convicted Aydin Coban from the Netherlands of child porn, luring, and criminal harassment, and he was handed a 13-year sentence. It was agreed Coban would serve his time in the Netherlands. Thursday, in accordance with Dutch sentencing guidelines, a judge there reduced the prison time to 6 years, the maximum allowed.
I was going into this thinking 0 because that's what we've been hearing that the Dutch courts might do, and so 6 is better than 0.
Coban was in his 30s when he convinced the teenage Todd to take off her shirt in front of a webcam. and then shared the topless image online. It wound up on a Facebook page to which her friends were added. Coban is currently serving an 11-year sentence in the Netherlands for similar crimes against 33 other victims. The new 6-year sentence will start when that one ends next year.
The Europeans always have thought that our system is too harsh. And you'll note that the Dutch court took that into consideration, and they reduced it by a significant amount.
Since Todd's death, her mother has become a tireless advocate against cyberbullying.
I can't bring Amanda back, but I can certainly share what I need to share for everyone else in the world.
For Amanda Todd's loved ones, this latest ruling does not bring their 12-year pursuit of justice to a close, because Coban's lawyers plan to appeal to the Dutch Supreme Court, hoping to reduce the 6-year sentence even further. Omar?
Ben Milger in Vancouver. Ben, thank you. A day after being ordered to pay nearly $150 million for defaming 2 Georgia election workers, Rudy Giuliani has filed for bankruptcy. The former New York City mayor and Donald Trump associate has about $500 million in debts, but only $1 to $10 million in assets, according to court documents. The bankruptcy declaration is unlikely to erase the debt Giuliani owes the workers. No respite yet from the wicked weather for Maritimers who are still without power. And as CTV's Atlantic Bureau Chief Creason Adjugate reports, the forecast is not favorable.
Maritimers are getting hit with another heavy storm for the second time this week, bringing more strong winds, rain, and ice pellets.
Coming back home for Christmas, I was lucky to make it. The flight got delayed a couple of times.
Beth Cross is one of many Air Canada passengers from Montreal who were unable to get their luggage. They were told the wind gusts made it unsafe to get their bags.
There's something to do with the door and the speed of the wind that if they open the door, they're worried that it will rip right off the plane. So instead of getting our bags off the plane, they have sent them back to Montreal, and we're just waiting to find out when we're going to get them now.
Across the Maritimes, thousands are still in the dark since Monday's storm.
Without the power, a disaster.
This man in his 70s has a generator to keep his space heater on, but says it's still cold for him and his wife.
And when I go to sleep at night, my bed like frozen.
Today, New Brunswick Power said the lines would be repaired before Christmas for the harder hit areas.
I can assure you that everyone involved in this response is working together towards the same goal, which is safely restoring power for all of our customers before Christmas.
But the utility company warns smaller single outages may have to wait much longer. In Sydney, Nova Scotia, previous days of heavy rain flooded parts of the city's sewer system, keeping people in the lower areas on edge.
A lot of people are dealing currently with power outages and some flooded basements around town too. So it's not a great couple of days leading into Christmas.
This storm will continue to have an impact on flights and ferry services along the East Coast, with the weather finally subsiding on Saturday, just before Christmas Eve. Omar.
A difficult few days. All right, Creason, thank you. As holiday travel picks up to pre-pandemic levels, airports nationwide are bracing for a surge in passengers. CTV's Bill Fortier on how to navigate the festive rush.
There's no welcome quite like that home for the holidays hug.
Emotional.
Especially when you haven't seen your daughters in 2 years. Thomas Benoit flew from Halifax on one of the busiest travel days of the year.
We made it on time. We were a good hour or two before I had check-ins.
To have him here for Christmas and not being able to spend Christmas together for so long is going to be amazing.
The holiday rush is on across the country and traffic is up from last year. Calgary seeing 55,000 people per day, Vancouver averaging around 70,000, and at Toronto's Pearson Airport, Canada's biggest, around 160,000 people are expected each day.
We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman.
In the U.S., 49,000 planes in the air today and 2.5 million passengers on the move per day.
It's not too bad. I mean, it's pretty bad.
The line's long, but it's moving.
Last year saw travel chaos this time of year with winter storms and post-pandemic staffing shortages.
Last year I got stuck in Seattle, so definitely better.
This year, several Canadian airports have brought in extra staff.
For us, it's all about all hands on deck. We've got people that are going around our airport ensuring that our passengers have what they need.
According to the experts, there are ways to alleviate the anxiety of congested terminals and long lines.
So a lot of the major airports in Canada, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, they've got mobile apps where you can bypass the security line.
The best tip, show up even earlier than you normally would.
You can't show up at the airport 30 minutes before thinking you're going to clear customs, security, and get on that flight.
And another tip from airports across the country, if you're traveling with gifts, don't wrap them until you get to your destination. Wrap gifts might end up getting unwrapped a little earlier than you intended by airport security. Omar.
Good advice. All right, Bill, thank you. Coming up.
Cars just keep getting more complex. More moving parts is more things that can fail.
One of the world's biggest automakers recalls millions of cars. Plus, a simple plan for spending a mega fortune. One of Canada's most popular car brands has issued a massive recall. Globally, millions of Honda vehicles are impacted, and that's not the only automaker flagging issues. CTV's Jill Makashon explains.
As the holiday travel rush ramps up, drivers may want to look at the recall lists before hitting the road, as Honda is now the latest manufacturer to send out notice. 4.5 million vehicles recalled worldwide, affecting most models of Hondas and Acuras built between 2017 and 2020, impacting nearly 300,000 vehicles sold in Canada.
That's an extremely large recall, and yes, Honda is a very popular brand. What's going on there is that it's a very common part that Honda uses in almost all of their vehicles.
A defective part involving the fuel pump inside the fuel tank could lead to a stalling risk. Honda says there have been no reports of crashes or injuries related to this recall to date.
More and more vehicles are being recalled every year, generally manufacturer initiated, because manufacturers are concerned about the safety and security of their vehicles and the owners operating their vehicles.
Yesterday, 100,000 Toyota and Lexus models in Canada were recalled because of an airbag safety issue. And earlier this month, 200,000 Canadian Tesla owners received a recall to update the autopilot function after a U.S. federal safety investigation determined that it's too easy for drivers to misuse that feature. Experts say expect the recall lists to grow as vehicle technology advances.
And that's because cars just keep getting more complex. More moving parts is more things that can fail.
Honda and Acura drivers will receive the recall notice for a free fix in February, and you can always go to Transport Canada's website to find out if the vehicle you are driving has any outstanding recalls. Jill Makashon, CTV News, Winnipeg.
And a Quebec family is in the market for a new set of wheels after winning a mega lottery prize. Nancy Gauthier, her mother and stepfather, hit the $50 million Lotto Max jackpot in Saint-Anne-des-Plaines. Mother and daughter have quit their night shift jobs at an upholstery factory. Now they're planning to spoil the family of 15 and even buy a small farm. A pretty nice Christmas gift still ahead.
Originally, I packed 5 tank tops.
Tourists forced to trade beach cocktails for Canadian hot chocolate. Hundreds of passengers who signed up for a trip to the Bahamas are getting a completely different experience in St. John. And today, Sarah Plowman spoke to them about their impressions.
Holidayers dreamed of sun, sand, pristine waters.
On a private island, swimming and snorkeling.
The MSC cruise ship was set to take passengers from New York City to the Bahamas. But when the weather went south, the cruise's path turned north. Hours before departure, passengers were told they could cancel or hop aboard to New England, and today, St. John, New Brunswick.
Originally, I packed 5 tank tops, some shorts, and some flip-flops.
Little use when it's below zero.
Okay, so I have on this sweater, underneath here I have on another long sleeve,
I have 4 layers of pants underneath here.
A city no stranger to cruises has never welcomed one this late in the year. Gift shops targeted the unprepared.
I think they are selling a lot of winter hats.
Vincent Savard drove from Nova Scotia to New York City to board the cruise, only to end up back in the Maritimes.
Oh, it's crazy, so you got to do what you got to do, you know?
Instead of pina coladas, people picked up maple syrup. The people were warm, but the weather...
I am freezing. I'm actually like a Texan from the south.
Some welcomed adventure.
Going to the Reversing Falls, looking just to go downtown and see what there is here.
A couple breweries. Found that out already.
This couple from Brooklyn packed it in quickly. Too cold.
And that's it. Yeah. Finished with Canada. I've seen enough.
Instead of Bahamas, we are there in St. John.
And so tonight, they sail south, back to New York City. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, St. John.
After the break, dreams of a white Christmas dashed. Four days before Christmas, and we already know there's one thing Canadians likely won't be getting on their wish list. CTV's Alison Bamford explains.
Outdoor skating is a Christmas tradition in the Lamb household, but usually it's not above zero when they do it.
We'll take the sun, the blue sky, and a little bit of a different Christmas.
Most of the country can expect a different Christmas this year. Environment Canada says if there's no snow on the ground where you live right now, it will probably stay that way for the holidays.
You couldn't visit Grandma last year. There was too much winter. I mean, the flights were canceled. It ruined thousands of vacations for Canadians. And here it's wide open. It doesn't feel or doesn't even look like Christmas.
These brown conditions stretch across the country, the result of a strong El Niño pattern this fall. But meteorologists at the Weather Network are holding out hope for some Canadian cities to experience a white Christmas. Winnipeg has the greatest chance, while odds are low in Calgary and Ottawa. And southern Saskatchewan can wave goodbye to any chance at all, where even those in the snowmaking business are struggling.
You know, this is kind of par for the course for us. This time of year is always focusing on snowmaking. Unfortunately, we haven't had the best temperatures in the world for that.
Impacts could stretch far beyond the holidays. In Alberta, officials are raising concerns of drought after a record wildfire season earlier this year.
Usually winter weather helps us extinguish those fires, and we're not seeing that right now, so that is also unusual.
Unusual times as many prepare for a brown Christmas, whether they like it or not.
Doesn't make you feel very Christmassy.
As long as you're around your loved ones and sharing those special times, it doesn't matter if there's snow on the ground.
For those hoping for a Christmas miracle, Environment Canada says there only needs to be 2 centimeters of snow on the ground to classify as a white Christmas. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
We can still dream. And that's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather Butts is here tomorrow. And I'll see you back in the new year. Until then, I wish you and your families peace, joy, and prosperity in 2024. And to everyone celebrating, may you have a very Merry Christmas. Good night.